Hi guys, and welcome to day 13 of the Organize Your Life in 14 Days challenge. Today we are talking about meal planning, how you can do it and why you should. So let's get into it. Like I said guys, today we are talking about meal planning, and if I'm really honest with you, I resisted meal planning for so long. I mean, I think I've always known about meal planning, but one of my friends tried to get me to do it a while ago and I was like, I can't meal plan. I like just doing things as I go. I like being able to eat the food that I want to eat on the days that I want to eat it. And so I really just ignored the idea of meal planning for a while, and then things in life got a bit busier and got a bit more hectic, and she was at me again to start meal planning, and I was like, all right, I'll just give it a go. And since then I have been hooked. I'd love to say I meal plan every single week, but I am not actually that organized. I like being organized and I do organize a lot of things in my life, but meal planning is one of those things that I like to do and I wish I could do more often, and it is one of the things that I am constantly working on when it comes to organizing my life, but it is one of the things that I know makes the biggest difference. So it is absolutely essential to include it in this Organize Your Life challenge. Did you see how much the lighting just changed then? It's probably going to get really bright again in a second, so sorry for the major lighting changes that's going on at the moment. Okay, so one of the reasons why I resisted meal planning for so long was because I thought it was this big complicated process. I thought I would have to dedicate all this time at the start of the week and I was gonna have to like get all these recipes and do all these things, and I thought it was just this big process, and I just didn't want to add more to my to-do list. On top of the fact that I had to decide what we were going to eat anyway, it just felt like another thing that I had to do. But what I realized is by spending this little bit of dedicated time at the start of each week, it freed up so much mental space for the rest of the week, and it meant that I didn't have to be making these decisions for dinner either last minute or when everything else was taking a priority. And I realized that when it comes to meal planning, you can either be as complicated or as simple as you like, and as you know, I like to keep things real simple, so that's exactly how I approach meal planning. I always recommend if someone's starting meal planning for the first time, or even if they're wanting to be a little bit more organized in what they eat or organize their pantry a little bit better, I always recommend to take an inventory of your pantry and to work out what it is you already have and use that stuff first. So often you will be amazed at the things that you have in your pantry already, because if you're anything like me, stuff gets kind of shoved to the back and you tend to forget about what's there. Whereas if you meal plan, you can actually go through what's in your pantry and make meals based on what you already have. So for us, we meal plan just a week in advance. I know some people will do a whole month in advance, but I'm not that organized and I struggle to make decisions for a week in advance, let alone doing a whole month. So for us, a week is something that's achievable, it's something that's doable, and it really does help us a lot. So all I do is I sit down and I work out what we have already, what meals we can create from that, what meals we want to eat. So I make sure I include things in there that we like eating and that I know the kids will eat and what we want to eat. We also take into account things that are happening on our calendar. So I'll whip out my calendar and I'll have a look at what's happening for the week ahead. If we're going out any nights or if we have any training on or anything like that that's going to affect our meal planning. And then I simply just fill in what we want to eat on what nights. Once I've worked out what we're having and what our meal plan looks like, I can then work out what my grocery list is going to be, and we can go grocery shopping from that. And we work out based on our meal plan what our grocery shopping days are going to be. So I'd love to only be able to go grocery shopping once a week, but that just doesn't work for us. So it's generally twice a week, and that allows us to buy a lot of fresh produce and not let it spoil either. I'm all about making things easier on yourself. So with your meal planning, you can do things like double up on what you're making for dinner and use it for leftovers for lunches, or you can even freeze it. And if you do this over a while, so you might do say 2 or 3 weeks where you double up every few dinners and then you just freeze it all, and then for a whole week you can have all of these meals made and ready to go, and all you need to do is throw a salad with it or do some quick veggies and your meals are done. I also like having a few things stored in the freezer for quick and easy meals, because some nights things just don't go to plan. Things come up and you might end up finding that you're not home until really late, so having something in the freezer ready to go means that all you need to do is just throw some salad with it or even just eat it on its own, and it's ready, done, simple, and dinner's over and you can get on with your night. The most important thing with meal planning is to eat what you love. There's no point in planning out a whole week's worth of meals if they're not things that you're going to actually eat. So make sure that you plan out the food that you love, eat the meals that you love, and you'll find that you enjoy the meal planning process a lot more. I also like to keep things really simple. I use simple ingredients, simple meals, and it just makes everything so much easier. I tend to give a bit more leeway on weekends, so I'll focus more on meal planning during the week, which makes the most sense for us when the kids are at school during the school term, and then on the weekends we can have a bit more flexibility. We might just have like a snack night for dinner or something like that, or leftovers or something a bit simpler, or we might go all out and cook up a big feast and do something a little bit different. At the end of the day, like everything else, it's about working out what works for you. But we really have found that meal planning makes things so much easier for us. We save money, we waste less, and we don't have to think about what's happening during the week for meals because it's already done for us. So much mental space is cleared up. You wouldn't think that having to decide on what to eat for dinner every single night really takes that much mental space, but it really does. So if you haven't done meal planning before, give it a go. If you're on the email list for this challenge, you will find a meal planning printable in your inbox today, and you can print it out and use it as often as you like. Some people laminate it and put it on their fridge. Some people put it in a frame and just write on it with dry erase markers, whatever works for you. So guys, today's task is a really simple one. Just use whatever you have and go through and plan out your meals for the next week. Even if it just means you write it down on a piece of paper and throw it on the fridge, whatever you have on hand and you can use, but go through and decide what you're going to eat for the next week and give this whole meal planning thing a shot. You don't have to plan out every single meal. You might find that planning out dinners is easier for you. That's what we do. We've tried planning out breakfasts, snacks, and lunches, and it doesn't work for us, whereas planning out dinners really is what has the most impact and is the most effective for us. So find out what works for you, give it a go, and plan out your meals for the next week. And if you're not on the email list yet, make sure you check out the description box below. I'll pop a link in there so you can join in on it as well. While you're there, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notifications button. Today is day 13 of the Organize Your Life in 14 Days challenge, which means we have one more day to go. Day 14, that's coming at you tomorrow. And tomorrow we are going to be talking all about the power of habits. So do make sure you hit that notification button. Thank you so much for your time today, and I will see you tomorrow.